This is Cheryl Stepp. Welcome back to the Creating Resilience video series. This is number 20 in the series. Today, we're going to keep moving up the trunk of the tree, and we're going to be talking about emotional expression. Emotional expression is the ability to share our needs and our emotions, to build connections, and to meet our needs and other people's needs. When we express our emotions well, we are not being disrespectful to anyone else or ourselves. We're really being able to connect with others and effectively share our emotions with them. I want you to just pause and recall a time when maybe after an interaction, you realize you really displayed one emotion, but in fact, you were feeling something else. Think about that. If you need to pause the video, feel free to do that. I'll give you an example of one time that I have. It's when I expressed that I was really angry with something and someone, when in fact, I was really ashamed of something I had done. I was feeling shame, and it came out as anger. So when we express our emotions, it's really important to think about, are we always aware of the true feelings that we're having in that moment? And being able to identify them and regulate them enough that you actually can express the true emotion. Emotions are our mind and body's way of responding to what's going on around us and inside us. We already talked about that. And I'm going to tie in the other parts of the trunk of the tree so expression makes a little bit more sense. If you think about our physical sensations and the way in which we see the world, and keep in mind that the way we see the world might not be the way the world really is, right? Our physical sensations and the way we see the world and what we say to ourselves, our self-talk, that influences our behaviors and our response, right? And our ability to identify and modulate or regulate emotion influences our ability to express our emotions. So everything's really tied together if you can follow that progression. So emotional expression is just really sharing emotional experience, and it's a key aspect of human relationships. It's something that we're realizing animals do a lot more than we thought they did, but it's definitely a key part of the human experience. And some people just really need some help building skills to effectively communicate their emotions in a way that maintains healthy relationships at the same time. Because adversity and trauma and stress impact emotional expression a lot. As we're young people and we're learning to become attached to others and connect with others, if our display of emotion is met with hostility or lack of interest or even acceptance, it might create shame, where we think that emotions are really, really bad, or they're unimportant, or they're really wrong. It also might create a sense of secrecy that we shouldn't share our emotions. Or if we do share our emotions, something bad might happen. And that leads to the idea of vulnerability. If we share our emotions, it's a sign of weakness. Or maybe I've lost some protection or some control and I might get hurt. People often hide their emotions so that they don't feel shame, they don't feel danger, they feel like they're more in control. If they've experienced a lot of trauma or a lot of adversity, emotions might be something that's really difficult to deal with. What happens when somebody really is not allowed to show their emotions when they're younger or express them in the right way? They begin to communicate emotions very ineffectively. It might be that instead of being able to say, I'm feeling really angry right now, they just become explosively aggressive, right? They might over communicate. They might be somebody that, as we say in our society, wears their emotions on their sleeves, where you always know what this person is feeling, whether it's a positive or a difficult emotion, right? They're just always, always doing it. Emotions can also come out behaviorally. We talked about that, like with even self-harm or with aggression or with withdrawal from everybody, or they might come out somatically, which means they're coming out physically. I'm sure you've heard of people that are overly stressed and they get ulcers, and how much stress and increased anxiety can change our physical health. Sometimes people even just fail to share their emotions at all. They become what we call very flat affect. They never show emotion on their face. Whether they're happy or upset, you really can't tell. They just don't show any emotion at all. So, emotional identification, what we talked about before, very definitely influences our ability to correctly express our emotions. If we can identify our emotions and then we know how to regulate them so we feel safe with our emotions, then we're going to be able to express them easier. So you can see how this all ties in to create that one strong trunk of the tree. They all are interchangeable and need to all be strengthened. But one thing that's really important about emotional expression is that sometimes we identify the wrong emotion. Like I talked about at the beginning, sometimes it's really shame, but it comes out as anger. It's important to be able to identify your emotions accurately and realize what you truly are feeling so you can express the correct emotion. So, this is a great saying. I sat with my anger long enough until she told me her real name was grief. I think it's just a beautiful expression that sometimes anger is just an easier thing. It seems to be more accepted in our society to be angry rather than being ashamed or rather than feeling grief. But what we really need to be able to express is what we truly, truly feel on the inside. And we have to be able to identify it and feel like we have control to regulate it before we can express it. So your reflection with this video is when you were younger, were you allowed to show your emotions? How did you know you could or could not show your emotions? And then the action step is pay close attention to when you feel angry. Is it really anger? Or is there some other emotion or need that needs to be expressed? Start to become more aware of where you really are in the car and what emotion is really taking you there. Thank you again for joining me. I'll see you next time.